All right, let's talk a little bit about watering. And watering, believe it or not, it's probably the main thing why trees end up dying, either with excess watering or lack of water. In my opinion, if you have the right soil, excessive water won't be a problem, at least in the summer or spring or fall, unless you live in some area where it rains constantly. So it's summertime. Temperatures are from high 60s to 90s right now. Today was max 85s, and right now it's probably on the 75 range. I'm gonna show you basically what I do. If you look at what I have in my hand, there are several options. I have several trees, so I cannot have one of those hand watering cans. I use this. I bought it at Home Depot. It controls the flow on top. I can also open and close here, and the main water is open in the back. I have a issue with high pressure. Normally it's low pressure problem, but I have high pressure, so I got to control over here and over here depending on what tree I'll be watering. So if I open a little, I also have an extendable hose, metal here. I had plastic ones and they broke all the time, and this way I can control here the flow. This for a bigger tree is perfect. Let's see what I'm going to do. So with deciduous trees, if I see that the top layer is dry, I will water them. With conifers, junipers in particular, I'm a little more careful, and I'm going to check how's the bottom layer, if it's too wet or not. Now these ones, you can see, just looking at the soil, they're dry, so they will be all watered. I have a small tree growing there that happened by accident, so great, it's a free tree, let it grow. These pots are really huge because these trees were in a 25 gallon, I believe, and because of that, the top layers will dry and the water will accumulate in the bottom. So I really need to water it most likely every day if the temperatures are high enough. I have about 30 to 40 trees. My watering daily will take about 20 to 30 minutes, unless the temperatures were lower, and in that case I can skip some trees. Make sure you water all around the pot, covering all sides. There's another little tree that happened to start growing. It's a Chinese elm, just like the other one. I actually have several in my yard growing all the time, and I'll show you right after what I do with those Chinese elms that I actually didn't used to like, because they would have like straight shapes, and when I go to the nurseries I see some kind of styles that I really don't appreciate much. But if you start wiring them young enough, they are pretty flexible. Once the wood harden, it's really hard to get a good bend into it. And what I'm talking about, it's these are Chinese elms that are wired pretty young. These are showing or small sizes, so I need a little less water pressure. And because they're so small, or in small shallow pots also, I will water them now, and I will water again after, just to make sure that it soaks and absorbs all the water. Also in summertime, I actually water close to the end of the afternoon, so that the trees get hydrated or get plenty of water during the night, get to absorb all that water, or let it soak in the soil, and it can hold the whole day after, at least until it reaches 100 Fahrenheit. I have no need of watering twice a day or more. I water basically one time. As I said, because it's small trees, it's important that you go over again just to make sure that the water penetrates, drains, and gets absorbed by the components, mostly akadama. That's why all my mix has 50% akadama, so that it absorbs plenty and doesn't dry during the hot days. And I'll come back one more time to this one. So juniper, as you can see, the soil is dry, or dry enough, so I will water. I like to stick my finger in the soil if I have any doubt that if the bottom layer is still wet or not. So that way I can understand if I need to water or not. Deciduous trees, top layer dry, I water. Junipers, I check if 1 inch into the soil is dry, then I will water. And deeper pots, keep in mind that very deep pots act like a sponge, so the bottom will get water, the top will dry easily. I'll move again to the other side, and then I water the other side of this tree. Okay, careful with fruit trees, especially this is a common orange tree. If you look here, the soil is dry. I go a little deeper and the soil is already wet. So I'm not going to water this tree because orange trees don't like that much water. Okay, and keep an eye on these because they get fungus and bugs all the time. So you might need to reinforce that insecticide or fungicide once in a while, every season. These are junipers. They are not in bonsai soil. The soil actually dries a little faster, so I know that summertime I need to water every day. Once in a while I let it dry one day, because junipers don't really need it a lot, but I haven't had any problems so far with overwatering. And I actually believe that if you limit the water, the growth will also be limited and the tree won't really get affected. But by watering this much so far in California, I have been having a lot of success. It grows very fast. I trimmed these trees about a month ago, and look at all the new growth it has. Smaller pots. Again, I go a little bit on a repeat situation. I don't like to water or mist the foliage that much, although it may happen because of how I have the stands in the trees. But I only mist if the temperature is not too high, and if the tree was repotted recently, if it's weak, I might give it a little mist. But what happens is that if I water every day, I have a feeling that I get a lot more bugs, and I may get fungus as well. So this tree, for example, let me control the water, was recently styled about 2 or 3 months ago. I've been watering a little bit of the green. It does have some beneficial effects on it, I think, in terms of developing. But again, if the tree is perfectly healthy, I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to promote bugs and some kind of fungus. This tree is pretty dry. You can see this soil is getting a little too compact, so I will water it. I'll come back because the soil is so compact that the water is not penetrating very well. And if you see this one, still wet. It has some exposed roots, so in a normal situation I wouldn't water, but because there's some exposed roots that I want to keep alive, I'm just gonna give a very mild water. And again, I'm gonna come back to this one. Same situation, exposed roots, so I want to keep it wet. Keep in mind that I have all these exposed roots, but I actually want them to die slowly and just keep the thicker ones. That's the style that I'm gonna look for, and this will be wired to promote growth over here, and this top will be chopped. It looks like a very weird one. I might do an air layer on this one next spring, and so I'll have a tree over here and a tree on the top from an air layer. These are some excrescent plants or just succulents. This tree is pretty dry, and boxes promote a lot of airflow, a lot of drainage. So it's normal that if you have a tree in a wood box, it will require more water or more attention. Go down here. Another thing is that this case is a tanuki, and the dead wood represents a lot of the area in the pot. So that middle area, I know that it won't get a lot of water, so I will try to water enough so that it gets water by absorbing the surroundings. But over time the roots will develop more to the exterior of the pot, and I guess the roots inside will only get water by absorption. I'm not sure if it's the correct word. You get it. All right, come back over here. You can see here these cuts, they are here healing very well. That's why it's important to have a nice set of tools, sharp, so that the cells don't get smashed and will delay or make it difficult to heal. This is another orange tree, and it's pretty dry. It's looking a little weird. It had all bugs and fungus. I actually sprayed a couple of days ago, and it's already looking better. And look, there's another small tree growing that I will take later and repot on its own. All right, another wood box, and the soil on top was pretty dry. Over time, you'll see what your plants, your soil, your pots react to water, and you'll be able to just look at it and start watering. But I recommend either use your finger or that chopstick method, where you put the chopstick and look at it just like you do in a cake to see if the cake is already cooked. The chopstick will absorb some moist, and you can look at the chopstick color and realize if there's water or not in the pot. If you look at it, you see wet here, dry on top. It's about an inch. I'm not concerned from here low down, but there's a lot of exposed roots here, so I will water it mildly so that I don't have problems of roots dying on the top. Deciduous, the top layer is dry. I will definitely water. I'm not even going to look at it because the deciduous are a little more sensitive to dry soil. You might kill a tree in a couple of days in a hot summer day. If you don't water, of course. Same situation. Top of the soil is dry. It's deciduous. I will water. And this is the time I go back to my Shohin size bonsai and water thoroughly, because these guys will dry very fast. But the way I do it, in the evening or late afternoon, making sure I water plenty. I think the way it will absorb and stay during the night is working for me. So it really depends on your local weather. I think my weather here, or my climate zone, is 10B or 11, something like that, but I'm not very familiar with those concepts. I guide myself through temperatures. I have some seedlings here. I keep them low, protected from the sun, and shaded mostly. You can see that some died already, and I can see basically 25% of success, which makes me very happy. I only keep these seedlings wet, at least until we get to fall, or the temperatures go, I don't know, maybe on the 70s. Top of the soil is dry. Shallower pots will dry faster. Make sure you water those pretty well. And if you look at here, top of the soil is dry. It's a deciduous, it's a Japanese maple. This tree was a hair layer. And I want to keep those top roots, that Nabari radial system, nicely wet so that it doesn't die. And later on, when I put it in a real bonsai pot, it just looks beautiful. Over here we have a very shallow pot, and a very small pot. So same thing, water nice. I will come back to these trees, water again, make sure that they are very wet. That's some pots with some moss. I don't even know what kind it is, but same situation here. And I know that this juniper has a very compact root system, so it doesn't have a lot of soil to absorb water. So I like to actually water this one a little better than the other ones. And the pot is a little deeper, so the bottom will stay wet, the top not so much. And if I want to keep these superficial roots alive, I better be a little careful with that. Big pot. This juniper actually reacts well to water. Promotes a lot of growth, I think. And I'm still developing, so I'm gonna water a little, but I don't really need to water that much. This guy here, it's pretty dry, and also has some exposed roots that you cannot see because of those weeds that are a pain. You gotta take them every month or whenever you feel like, but I tried every month because they just grow and grow, and until I do a recent repot on this one, they will still be there. Alright, so I go back to these guys, and over there on the top I have some maybe groups, forest, maybe not, I don't know, but for now That's how I plant them, and I think they might actually work nicely as a group. I'm just letting them grow, thicken those trunks, so that when it gets to the thickness that I like, chop back again and let it grow again. And if you see this one, it's actually the same thing as those maple forests, but I put it all together. I'm going to try to do a trunk fusion and have a thicker tree faster with some kind of twisting spiral look. Is it going to work? I have no idea. I don't think I ever seen anyone doing this, so it might just be something that won't work or look weird. Hey, we shall see. Time will tell. Okay, moving on. This guy gets a lot of direct sun, but if you see here, soil is wet, top is dry, exposed roots. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of water on those exposed roots. This guy, same thing, like, doesn't really need a lot of water, but because I have some roots on the top and I'm afraid they dry, I'm just gonna give it a little touch. Deeper pot acts like a sponge. The bottom will absorb the water, the top will dry, so be careful with these guys. Same here. Same here. And I'll go back to it. It's dry on top, deciduous. Actually, it's not. It's both deciduous and not deciduous. But in California, it doesn't act like the deciduous. For some reason, last year they all lose their leaves, so it did, in fact, act as deciduous. But I was told that normally in California they don't lose their leaves. We'll see how it goes on this year. Okay, so very top layer is a little dry, but immediately after, wet. I will not water this tree. I also keep in mind what's the weather going to be like in the next days. So I know that it's going to be on the low 80s and I won't need to water. These guys get a lot more sun. They're junipers. Sometimes they don't need to be watered, just like this one right now. We'll see from the other side better. I'm just gonna do this, and that's it. This guy, look, wet right there, right? I don't need to water, although it's deciduous. This one, I know that it dries pretty fast. It's not on bonsai soil, and I want it to grow, so I'm giving it a little bit of water. Alright, I got a small tree. I'm going to reduce the flow of the water. And this is a Japanese black pine. I know that it was dry. This pot is small. It's windy. Wind affects how the soil dries faster. So, and the soil is a little compact, so I have to be careful. Next year I gotta replant. I gotta repot. Topsoil is dry right after wet. Okay, juniper. I don't need. Just gonna get those superficial roots wet. Same thing here, pretty wet. Those roots, that's it. Here it looks pretty wet around here. It's even getting some moss. I'm not gonna touch it. This is not in bonsai soil. It's pretty wet. This juniper in particular doesn't like water, so I'm not gonna touch it. These guys need it a little and they react very good. I love 3-minute junipers, small needles and very hardy. You can cut a lot of roots and you can push them very far and they will answer well. This tree, tall pot, I always water this tree. The water goes down very easy and the top will dry. And I have a problem also, the soil is very compact, so I gotta repot next year and make this drain a little better. This forest is in a shallow pot. In the summertime I normally water all the time. You can see some moss growing nicely and some other quality of moss dying. And I don't really need more. So if by any chance tomorrow would be on the hundreds, 110, I would water every single one of these trees because it's just a little too much. Being that it's going to be 85, I don't really feel that need. So apart from looking at the soil and watering by how the soil looks, keep in mind always how the weather is reacting the next day. And I'm just going to reinforce over here in the seedlings, over here this guy, this guy, this guy. You see how I have a shade cloth? Very important for the cereus because this was in another place where it gets direct sun. See the tips, they all burned. This one was here the whole time, more protected, same species, and doesn't have any burned tips. I almost lost this tree due to watering. The leaves were very, that look, when they don't get water, they start to go down. And I was lucky enough to see it in time and water it. And here are my small trees. So I didn't really take much time to be talking and watering, and I released the video on half an hour. And that's all, guys. This is in a flexible hose, so as I let the water come out, it shrinks and I can actually put it in this pot very easy. And it's 50 feet. When it shrinks, it looks more like it's 10 feet. Right now I'm in a little bit of a hurry, but it will look much better. I hope you guys enjoyed it.